Rockstar Diaries is going on the road.
Prohibition Cellars, Woodinville, Washington, Thursday, August 13th, 6 p.m. With Rockin' Dog, Return of Chasing Oz, and Heart Soul Revival.
We are taking Rockstar Diaries on the road.
To a stage near you.
Let's share stories, music, and fun together.
Rockstar Diaries TV show, Healing Out Loud, where you get to tell your story and change the world. Hey, welcome to Rockstar Diaries TV show. We're so glad to be here with a special guest.
Yes. Well, first, I'm Janine Emily.
Mr. Tracy Smith.
Mr. and
Goodness.
Mrs. Smith. We're so happy to be here with Dan Esposito. I mean, this guy has so much.
He is
so much.
He is opening up our world today.
Yes.
The knowledge that he has and the things that he's going to talk about, it's going to blow people's minds.
It will. It will.
Okay, people, let's welcome him in. Danny Esposito.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I got a lot to live up to right there, so I can't wait. I can't wait to share. I love talking about it, so but I can't wait to share it, and I hope people get something out of it and maybe apply some of it.
Esposito.
Esposito.
Yep. So interesting thing about that last name, because there's a lot of Espositos. It basically means orphan. We're all descended from orphanages in Italy.
Wow.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Is that a true fact?
100% true. And an
Wow.
Esposito invented pizza. So when I found out that other fact, I was like, oh, it wasn't my relative. It was just some other orphan that was doing it. Yeah. So,
Blame it on him.
yeah. I'm so glad to be here. I can't wait to
We're
share my
glad-
story with you. Yeah.
Oh, wow. We're so glad to have you. And let's just let you have the stage for a minute and what you're bringing, the value that you're bringing to our audience. Do you want to just give them a quick introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. So, chronic pain, let's just, throw it out there. I think that's the most important word that's kind of going on in our health society today, because 30 to 50% of Americans are dealing with some sort of chronic pain, and that's just kind of diagnoses. And so there's probably a lot of people out there that just haven't gone to the doctor and talked about it, or just think it's natural aging, and as I did when it was happening. But yeah, I was a former NFL player. I had 4 contracts in the NFL, a couple broken jaws, and didn't last long. I was in and out of camp, get re-signed, things like that. Kind of a bubble guy. And then, many years later, like in my late 30s, early 40s, I just started dealing with this chronic pain. Now, I was getting stiff before that, and I'm thinking, it's just kind of, it's what happens. And then eventually it like everything locked down. Like, I mean, I couldn't get my arms up past here. If I was to reach for things, it was like nothing would work, and my lymphatic system had basically stopped working because all the inflammation that was going on. It's kind of a side effect of inflammation, part of the clearing out process. But now I'm puffy, my face is all swollen, my, sweating all the time, losing hair. And then I tried some natural things or things I thought might help, like juicing fruits and vegetables. And it turned out that there's a lot of hidden pain makers in vegetables as plant defense chemicals, especially when you break down the leaf, when you juice them and turn them into a liquid. And then, so, I was eventually diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I mean, head to toe, every part of my body felt like it was on fire all the time. Every movement that I made was a negotiation with the pain that I would experience. And so, a lot of things went by the wayside. I was also diagnosed with degenerative arthritis, and I was a 4-joint replacement candidate. And that was, Rothman Institute, good surgeons. I don't really truly believe in joint replacements once you start really understanding the body, but some people get them, and not all of them are successful. So that was supposed to happen when I turned 50. And so about, a year or so later after that diagnosis, I had my second son on the way. And I'm an old dad. I'm 53. My son is 8. So that's the time frame. So about 3 months before he was born, I was just like, I'm not going to be a good partner to his mom, and I'm not going to be a good dad. I was not the best dad to my oldest son, and that wasn't intentional. I knew this thing was happening to me that was a side effect of pain that was causing all this anxiety. And I was like, I don't want to be that person to my family. I need to fix this. I said, I'm going to fix this. And that was 3 months before he was born. And so for the next year, well, let me go back to that. So then at 50, I won 2 gold medals, the United States Track and Field Masters National Outdoor Championship in Kentucky, not getting the joint replacements. I think at this point, a 4 or 5 time All-American master sprinter. Last year, I was ranked in the top 15 in the world. I didn't run indoors this year because I had a little hamstring pull I had in the worlds last year, but I expect to be at the outdoor championship this upcoming year in Ohio. And my goal there is to win an individual gold medal, and my other medals were with the relay teams. So I basically figured out how to reverse my chronic pain by falling forward. The grace of God and the universe helped push me along. Everything just sort of aligned. Not to say that there weren't a bunch of obstacles and maybe directions that I wish I didn't go down, that caused more anxiety and things like that. But learning that also taught me how to manage that thing. So if I take sulfur, I get a massive anxiety response because my body can't clear it out. And then I have depression, and it's based on my genetics. So part of my program, if someone works with me individually, I look at their methylation and detox cycle. But so you look at my genetics, and I can't clear these things out efficiently, and it causes a lot of problems. But then I found out that, well, if I go do an IV drip, glutathione, and get in the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, I don't have that issue. So it clears all that stuff out of my system.
Amazing.
Yeah.
See, one size does not fit all. So I do want to dissect this
Yeah.
one by one. And I do want to say too, that I had some chronic pain and I went through the journey. I didn't have somebody like you. And there were so many different factors. The elimination diet, I had to figure out foods, like you had mentioned foods, but then also environment, the weather, the wet weather versus dry, saltwater pools, like all of that helped me. So I want to make it easy on our audience and kind of like go through one by one. Do you want to start with food? Because you mentioned the breakdown of plants. That blew me away because my mom was a juicer. She turned orange because she had too much
too many
carrots.
orange and carrots. Yeah. That's interesting. She turned into a flamingo. That's why flamingos turn pink, because of what they eat. They're white naturally, and that's why they turn pink.
We were songwriters, and then someone said,
Write a chapter for a book, Janine.
"What?" And then it went to #1.
What? Hey, before that, we were just sitting around the phone waiting for another gig.
Who is it?
One courageous yes changed our lives. Yours could change somebody else's.
Your story is a platform, a purpose.
A ripple waiting to begin. Hey, if you've been carrying that story inside of you, let's share it with the world.
Apply below.
Only a few spots remain, so say yes today.
You can be a part of Rockstar Ripple Effect.
You're watching the Rockstar Diaries TV show.
But yeah, it's so I basically identified a handful of pain makers, and obviously you want to start with inflammation. And so then, okay, well, you hear that inflammation is the root of all disease, and then you learn like exactly what is inflammation. It seems like something we should all have been taught a long time ago. And it's actually our body healing itself, not attacking itself, as if it's kind of like the narrative that we think when we hear about inflammation. And um so we'll just talk about that one for a second, because I think it's the most
Yeah.
important one to look at. And I've done some more research since we've last talked, and I've gotten down to
Oh,
the cellular level of inflammation, which is kind of where my whole journey started. Is I thought, let me make cells healthier, and then I went to these proteins instead. But anyway, if you look at the cell wall, it has to be comprised of a ratio of 1 to 1 omega-6 to omega-3. 4 to
okay.
1 is acceptable. They control the inflammation response at the cell wall. That's where all
Wow.
inflammation begins. There's a stressor at the cell, whatever it is, mental stress, physical stress,
Mhm.
food trauma, punch in the, arm, that will determine your inflammatory response. So the omega-6 is your crazy friend who's like calling the fire department when she hears a bump in the night. The omega-3 is the sane friend who just goes downstairs and says, oh, left the water on, So that response at the cell wall is very important. The average American has a ratio of 15 to 1. Therefore, any stressor at the cell wall is going to have an overinflammation response. Now, you
Yep.
talk about neuroinflammation at the same time. You have cells all in your brain. They're going to be built by the same fats, the essential fats that you need, that's building the rest of the cells that's causing pain in the body. So that's why there's a connection here. There's a lot of people who are like, hey, does fibromyalgia cause this? Does it cause this? No, no. They're all inflammatory problems, right? It's all a big soup that's working together. So then it's a healing cycle that ends. Cytokines happen, C-reactive proteins, and there's a glue. White blood cells come in to start eating up the problem, give off lymph. That's the swelling that you'll see in the area. By the way, too much inflammation makes a hypothyroid. And so it's not your thyroid that's the problem, it's the inflammation that's the problem. So,
Mm.
for people who are having issues with the thyroid, they should first look at inflammation. So then
That's a good nugget.
the glue turns into a fibrin, right? Which is a clot. It's basically, they'll call it scar tissue, but it's really a scab. Now,
Okay.
once everything's settled and the white blood cells have done their job, they'll leave, red blood cells will come back. Then you get a collagen response. So this is the second offender that we talk about is collagen. Most people are building their collagen wrong. You need 4 amino acids, which most of us are getting, especially if you're eating some meat. But then there's 4 cofactors that tell these things what to do and how to do it. Without these 4 cofactors, this is basically Elmer's glue, right? Instead of
Okay.
this gummy, stringy sort of thing that's working kind of as a bumper, bouncy thing inside your body. And so those 4 cofactors are vitamin C. And so if you're not getting vitamin C on a weekly basis, then you
Mhm.
know your collagen's being built incorrectly.
Okay.
The next most important one is copper, right? So most people don't know where to get copper from. I eat a lot of liver, so I can get it from my liver, but I also wear a copper bracelet and I have a copper water bottle that I drink out of. That's the easiest place to get copper because most people won't eat liver, although they should. So and the other interesting thing is if you have anemia, there's an interesting correlation with anemia and copper. It's not always an iron deficiency. It can be a copper deficiency because there's an interaction there. So people should definitely look at their copper levels. And if they want
Ooh.
healthy collagen and age gracefully, like my 53-year-old self has reversed the time, the clock, then they need copper. The other two are manganese and zinc, right? So
Mhm.
not
Okay.
magnesium, but manganese and zinc. And so you got to really make sure that you're getting these things in your diet all the time to
Okay.
build.
What is the difference between manganese and magnesium? I've never heard of manganese.
It's just a different, it's just a
Is it?
different compound. Yeah, it's like you can find it in like shellfish, right? Which
Oh, okay.
I don't eat, but like a good multivitamin should have it in
Okay.
there, right?
Okay.
And so just speaking about multivitamins, throw away any multivitamin or food with folic acid in it. We can get to that late at some point, but your multivitamin should have methylfolate in it instead of
Okay.
folic acid. Folic acid basically acts like a neurotoxin at high levels, at upper levels, and it's like easy to get there on a daily basis with all of the folic acid in our entire food supply, right?
Hmm.
So then that collagen response goes in there. Now you've got this fibrin, which is it's like a plastic water bottle when it hardens up. So it's bending and cracking just like when you squeeze a cheap plastic water bottle and you think it's your joints and your skeleton and it's not, it's this crack from this thing. And then the collagen gets in there. So these chemical bonds are pretty strong, except the whole thing bends. Well, the chemical bonds in the collagen, they are holding that collagen together. They're 7 times stronger than steel. So when that sets in, you're going to have a tough time going to the chiropractor and having any real success, right?
Right.
So, and then there's oxidative stress. So when these things happen, oxidative stress also happens or can happen on its own. So once again, it's becoming this soup of a mess. And that's basically cell death. And the cells of the muscles die and you get atrophy of the muscles. And that's due to free radicals. So an interesting thing is there our clothing creates free radicals in our body because the polyester stuff is a lower frequency. So it's stealing electrons from you on a consistent basis. The beds we're sleeping in, if you don't have linen sheets or a grounding blanket, stealing electrons from you, causing a free radical inside your body. Now you go back to the Bible, it says don't mix linen and wool. Well, linen has a frequency of 5,000, wool has a frequency of 5,000 plus. But if you mix them, the energy field goes to zero. And now it's making you unhealthy instead of
See, that,
donate. Yeah.
not to interrupt you, but
Yeah, no,
that
no,
blew
go
me
ahead.
away when you told us the first time because, you know, we consider the Bible a roadmap, right,
Mhm.
for living. But that was so interesting and practical when you said that.
Yeah.
We're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then oh, I can't remember what I want to say there, but it's okay. So let's move on to the next one. So then there's the oxidative stress, and you want to pair up those free radicals.
Yes.
A really cheap way to do it, if you can't get a whole new wardrobe, is go stand out on the earth barefoot. That will help with that. Then there's glycation. So the other reason I was an atheist previously in my previous life, and it's interesting, I thought about it today. I was the only one in my entire family that was an atheist. So it's almost like I was chosen to be an atheist in my family. And the only two things I looked at in the Bible that kept me away from religion was don't mix linen and wool and don't eat
Okay.
swine for it's unclean. And it's like they seem so arbitrary, but pig causes glycation. So it's basically the sugar molecule attaching to a protein or a fat, and it causes the same sort of event that you'll see when you have barbecue sauce on chicken and it gums up and gets hard. Well, when you eat
Ooh.
bacon, that's happening internally inside your body, also with air fryers. But so bacon's interesting because everybody loves bacon, but it's unfortunate because your body can handle 15,000, they're called advanced glycation end products. It's the event and then the garbage is the end product. You can handle about 15,000 of those per day. In a healthy body, 3 strips of bacon is 90,000. So
Mm.
let's say you're going on some keto diet or you just really like bacon every morning, your body's eventually not going to be able to catch up. So what is that glycation going to cause? Inflammation, oxidative stress, and then you're going to have the poor collagen response. So it keeps happening and happening and happening. And a lot of it's our manufactured foods. That's all chemicals in there. Your body does not see that as biologic. That's an invader. So every time you
Right.
do that, all of those events are pretty much going to happen in your body. And because they're seed oils, it's building the cell wall with too many omega 6s. So it's almost like there's this intentional, you know, intent to take our spirituality away by putting us in pain, which puts us into an anxious moment. And it's very
Mm-hmm.
hard to be spiritual when you're anxious, right? And
So
so,
true.
yeah. And, and then with what's going on with the skies, I know Tennessee, banned the spray painting of the skies, and it still goes on a little bit. But I'm up in Pennsylvania, and I mean, every day the clouds are covering the entire sky, and so now you don't have that. And they're blocking out the red spectrum of the sun, the research has shown, which is the healing spectrum, the near range infrared light. And so, but sunlight also activates our collagen, our fascia, which is like a battery pack in our body. So, of course, we're all depressed and anxious. It's all around us, right? And so, you really have to be a warrior against modern society and the foods and the patterns and, the people that we follow. And I look it's so the obviously I turned this around with my faith in Christianity, but you know I, the CIA has a white paper on their website. You can go look at it, and it basically says that the Bible is a set of instructions for keeping this container clean for what's inside. They don't tell you what's inside, but we know what's inside. So it's our soul, it's our spirit. And so, yeah, I mean, there's just so many obvious things that point to atheism is not the way to go.
Are you enjoying the show? Let's go!
Your story isn't your legacy. The lives it changes is.
The lives it changes is.
Welcome to the Rockstar Ripple Effect. Share your story with the world. Join the movement today.
What kind of foods are normal to people that are basically poison to our bodies that we just need to stop altogether?
Well, he mentioned bacon.
I know bacon.
Yes.
Is there anything
Yeah.
else that?
Yeah. So we'll go into one of the other pain makers that I dealt with because it's a fascinating one. And I just want to
Yeah.
send a shout out to Sally K. Norton, who turned me on to this, or I would have never figured this. It's one of those things where I just fell into this knowledge. So part of what I was doing is I was juicing spinach, juicing beets, almond milk, and yeah, so I was doing that, and I didn't realize what was happening is I was releasing this plant defense chemical called oxalic acid through the wall of my gut lining into my soft tissues, and it's creating kidney stones all throughout your soft tissues. So, nitric oxide is important for blood flow, and so they sell you beetroot powder. Well, you're going to put a bunch of oxalates into your body, and they're basically kidney stones that are tearing your muscles apart internally. And there's a couple different metabolic pathways that it blocks that is causing you to be stiff and in pain as well. It steals hyaluronic acid away from the soft tissue. It turns a cell into a bone producing cell. When it gets into the cell through the cell wall, it slows down sulfur production, and sulfur helps resynthesize your collagen. So now your collagen just stays there and just keeps piling on instead of breaking down and rebuilding back up. That's what resynthesizing means. It's a living organism inside your body, your collagen. So some other foods, I mean, things like French fries, I mean, they have oxalates, and then when they put them in the fryer with the rancid seed oils, and then it becomes acrylamide, which is a class 1 carcinogen. Just foods that are, you go to the restaurant, most foods are cooked in seed oils. Buffalo Wild Wings puts their wings in tallow, which is great. I was having a conversation last night with a guy I talked to a guy last night that owns a franchise. I was having a couple cigars with him, and I was so fascinated, and I was like, well, tell me about the tallow. And I was just like, so it's more expensive, not that much more expensive, but yeah, way healthier.
We just bought some from a
good.
farmer's market, and she went into detail about it. I didn't even know any of that. So that's fascinating that you brought me that up, and that Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So use it as lotion on your face. It's good for your skin. The
My
tallow.
goodness.
Yeah. And good for chapstick too. When you when your lips get chapped. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, there's a ton of foods. I mean, anything that's not natural, your body's going to say, you're not supposed to be here, and I'm going to create inflammation. Like, it's literally everything that's not natural. So, And then I know where the top of the mountain is. I tell people I'm not there. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be perfect and I'm never going to be perfect, but I know what I would like to achieve or where I would like to reach. And as I'm going in that direction, like I just got done a 4-day fast, right? And every time I do a fast, I start cutting more and more junk out of it's kind of like your elimination diet, right? And I'm just like, I know that's going to make me feel bad and I will be unproductive and I'm going to have, head fog or whatever's going to happen. So I've really like ice cream and donuts and things like that. Like I just don't even mess with them anymore.
Mic drop.
So let's take this full circle because you're such a great example. You went from NFL to chronic pain to winning competitions, but there was the journey that you went through. What did you start with? Because I know a lot of our audience, I know people that I've talked to, including really good friends, have chronic pain and they've tried everything. And then they're going in and getting injections and surgery. Sometimes surgery is warranted, like when I had my left hip replaced. But tell us a little bit about the journey, how, there's all this information of, overload almost.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit, how did you start?
So, I started at that moment when I was at the gym and I was, 265 pounds, could barely move blah, blah, blah. And then so at that point, I was like thinking I could just stretch myself apart, just rip myself apart and put myself into a healing environment. How I just didn't know what a healing environment meant. And once again, so much misinformation. I went to Netflix for my health advice. And that's where I found out about juicing, right? And so I was like, oh, sounds like this magical thing. And I gotta be honest with you, it helped mentally for a while, because, spinach has this molecule in it that gets rid of homocysteine, and that's a depression molecule, right? And so I was feeling like I was like flying. I felt light, but I didn't realize over time these things were setting in and collecting calcium from around my body and building these oxalates internally. So anyway, so I was stretching my body apart and for like a year, nothing was going on. Like I could hear things popping and cracking, but nothing was really, there was no forward movement.
Okay.
And then so I was at a networking event and a friend of mine came up and she actually pushed me in two different directions here that really helped me quite a bit. And so my knees, I was 265. My knees were the size of softballs, both of them, for 8 months. And she's like, Dan, why are you limping? I was like, oh, my knees. And I'm miserable at this point, in pain everywhere. And she's like, well, you should rub some castor oil on your knees. And I'm thinking people at the time were selling essential oils in like network marketing. And I thought she's going to try to sell me some network marketing thing. And she's like, no, you got to do this, got to do this. And I had never listened to anyone's advice in the past, but you're desperate. And she was really intent on me doing this. So I said, you know what? I'm okay. I'm going to do it. Went home, grabbed the castor oil from, CVS, rubbed it on my knees, rubbed it on my lymphatic areas. Didn't even realize it was my lymphatic system was causing all that puffiness. And my doctors didn't know, et cetera. And so I rub the castor oil and I go to bed. I wake up the next day, all the swelling in my knees was gone completely. And then I'm looking in the mirror and my face, if you go on my Instagram and see, I've got this picture where the lymph is completely making my face look like a pumpkin. And it's gone. It's like my face is back. I see my jawline, and then I start blowing stuff out of my face for the next 3 days. It was just draining out of me. And so at that point, prior to that, I was lucky to have one or two good mental health days a month. Now I'm at like half of the time, right? And so this is where the journey gets really interesting. So then I went and had a beer at a baseball game after my son was born. My family went to a baseball game with a bunch of friends. And I felt just after that one beer, I felt so bad. And I was like, am I acidic? And I was like, maybe I'm acidic. So I knew about this high pH water. Now, I don't honestly, the science is kind of back and forth on that. But whatever, thankfully, in that moment, it helped me. So I drank it and I'm like, oh, I feel so much better now. I said, I need to learn about proper hydration. And so I found a podcast with, I just even thought about this. The first podcast I listened to had a Christian guy on there, Dr. Zach Bush. He's like a naturopath doctor now, brilliant guy. and Dr. Mercola, Joseph Mercola, another, natural foundation doctor. And so they were talking about proper hydration is getting water into the cell, and it has to be water that has mineral content. Well, I'm realizing that I'm only drinking acidic water. Like that's all I'm drinking. I'm getting water bottles and stuff, and I'm drinking 4 or 5 of them a day. And I'm not really hydrating myself. I'm actually dehydrating myself by pulling acidic water into cells. And then, so I thought, well, gosh, everything's made up of cells. What if I find other ways to make cells healthy? And maybe that will make my body healthy. Now, once again, C in college biology, I'm no genius, and I barely got that C. So, so I'm like, the next thing in Dr. Mercola's podcast is like near range infrared light therapy. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go try this. It helps the cells, the mitochondria and stuff, but also what it does is it penetrates deep into the skin. And so you're going to hear me talk a lot about chemical bonds. The only way to break this junk down is by cleaving the chemical bond, right? So that's the catalyst for almost all of this. So anyway, so what the near range infrared light does, it penetrates deep into the skin, and the photons, that's why they block out the red spectrum of the sun and the sky, cleaves the chemical bond of fibrosis. Right. And now when you start moving it around, it can mechanically break. So I would hear this click and I would feel it happen in my body. I'm like, ooh, as I would walk out of these sessions, but it was so slight. It's like 1 or 2, right? But something was happening. And it was the first time, like internally, muscle wise, that I was there was any forward progress. So I bought a near range infrared light and I sleep under it every night now. And then my friend who told me about the castor oil, there's this guy going around on the internet. He's still around. He's wild. Does the snake diet. It's basically, he does these extended fasts, and he's from Canada, and he opens up all of his videos with, "Hey, fatty." And so he really grabs your attention. He's nuts, but he's like, he's one of those guys who led me in this direction. And she's like, "Oh, he does these 3-day fasts. You can't do a 3-day fast." I was like, "Oh, you just tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it." So it like drives me. So I'm like, I did this 3-day fast, and fasting's terrible in the first day. Like, you're going through all this metabolic shift, and you hear all this grumbling in your stomach, and you think it's hunger pains, but it's just a metabolic shift that's happening to burn fat instead of glycogen. But anyway, at day 2, in the second day of this fast, all of a sudden that same click that I was getting from the near range infrared light, it's like click, 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 right? I was like, oh my God, what's happening? So we didn't finish the inflammations. I don't think we finished the inflammation cycle. So what happens only at 20 hours of fasting? Your liver releases these enzymes because they're now in starvation mode. They're typically digesting your food. So they can't occupy both things at the same time. You've got to starve them out. Then they get into your bloodstream and start looking for the fibrosis, misfolded proteins, things that can lead to cancer, all sorts of bad stuff in the body. Clips them, you feel it, kind of like, okay. And then it kind of is a message to you, hey, now I need you to physically get in there and start working around, because now it starts falling apart. And then the body starts sending these little mechanoreceptors there to start eating it up and tearing it down and getting rid of it completely. So once it's clipped, there's a decent amount of, relief that you get there, but now the body has to take a very slow, measured response to remove it, because it doesn't want to overwhelm your processes, your systems. So it's another biblical thing that like keeps you healthy. And so that's what kind of pushed me in. I was like, what else is in there? And so I'm really into the Ethiopian Bible now, because there are laws of like nutrition and stuff in the Ethiopian Bible. So I fall asleep listening to it too much, so I haven't found anything in there yet. But, eating fish, right, to help with that omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, you need, salmon is a great thing. So there's so many instructions in there, the things you need to stay away from. Shellfish causes inflammation. There's all sorts, and that's why people have anaphylactic shock sometimes to shellfish.
Rockstar Diaries is going on the road.
Prohibition Cellars, Woodinville, Washington, Thursday, August 13th, 6 p.m. With Rock and Dog, Return of Chasing Oz, and Heart Soul Revival.
we are taking Rockstar Diaries on the road.
To a stage near you.
Let's share stories, music, and fun together.
Rockstar Diaries TV show, Healing Out Loud, where you get to tell your story and change the world.
It's just your journey, and so that was very helpful because you didn't just go all at once for everything.
And then,
hydration.
Yeah, so let me tell you the next one. This is where the big problem came in. So now I'm taking advice from anyone. I'll try anything, right? It's like my club days. So anyway, so I see this girl and she's into like kind of, kind of a tree hugger type. And she's like, oh, you should try sulfur. And I had done MSM in a tablet once to think it was going to help my knee, but no idea what it was supposed to be doing. But now that I know what it's supposed to be doing, it makes more sense now because just a couple tablets isn't going to do it. So she goes, you should try sulfur. This one doctor really sulfur. So I go get MSM, throw it in my supplement. I've got this stack. I don't know if you can see it, of all these supplements in spice jars. So I try, like I have like, all this stuff that I would try. So I'm doing the sulfur. Now I started getting bad anxiety and I thought it was coming from external sources, my family, the dogs, my work, my dad, my brother. Like I'm just in this panic state all the time. And it's because of the sulfur, right? But physically, internally, I was getting so much progress, like so much progress. But, and then I smelled like an egg. I was doing so much sulfur. So anyway, I eventually figured that was a problem and stopped that. But, there was this other time when I was at, I didn't even know about fibrosis yet. I really thought it was all connected to collagen. I didn't, collagen and oxalates were the only two things I was focused on. So about 2-3 years ago, I'm in an event. My other business is a commercial energy brokerage. And so we got invited to the Ozarks as one of the better brokers for Shell Energy, and everybody got food poisoning. And I was like, I wonder why everybody got food poisoning. A lot of people, threw up. So then I thought the first food I thought of was it the pineapple? And I was like, why did I think pineapple first? And then something said to me, because I didn't say it to myself, pineapple contains bromelain. And I'm like, what is bromelain? So I Googled bromelain. Well, bromelain's used as a commercial meat tenderizer to get rid of fibrosis. I was like, oh my God, I had a tear come out of my eye because I'm like, I didn't even know what a fibrin was at that point. I didn't know much about the inflammation cycle at that point. And so I went home, got some pineapple powder, from this company. I put it in my supplement now. And so, it started working like right away. And I actually had I don't know if I told you the story, but a couple weeks into it, I had a big chunk of plaque come out of my tooth. I have no cavities and it was COVID. So I missed 2 dentist appointments and this piece of plaque came out. I was like, oh my God. And I went to the dentist and I was like, this happened because, we need to do a deep cleaning. It's going to cost you $1,000. I said, well, isn't there like an enzyme you can spray on my teeth before? Because I think before I had a cleaning before, the previous dentist had done that. He goes, nope, there's nothing you can do. I was like, and I really didn't want to spend $1,000 to have my teeth cleaned, especially I don't have cavities. But my father has false teeth. So I didn't, I was, maybe this is where my teeth fall out. And so, so she sends her tech in and I'm thinking, I'm such a fraud because I tell everyone, don't listen to your doctors. I don't want to say don't listen to your doctors, but question your doctors, right?
Yes.
And don't make decisions in the chair. And so I'm there making a decision in the chair. And I said to the tech, I said, hold on a second. And I type in proteolytic enzymes, because that's the type of enzyme in the bromelain. Proteolytic enzymes, dental plaque, National Institute of Health, NIH. 20-something studies came up showing how effective it was on the dental plaque. So now think about this. We have plaque in our arteries as well that we want to not have occur. So it's really could be a good way to reduce the plaque in the arteries because cholesterol is not the problem with heart attacks. So you have enzymes that determine how much cholesterol will be released into your bloodstream based on its need. And you can even go to the American Heart Association's website will tell you dietary cholesterol has no impact on serum cholesterol levels because you have those enzymes regulating how much your body needs. We're perfectly made. We're being destroyed from this food industry, from this certain parts of the medical industry. And
Yeah.
so, once you talk about food again, you just stay as natural as you possibly can, and you'll be pretty safe.
Yes. Can
Yeah.
I make a comment on that?
Yeah.
We've traveled a lot with our business and with Rockstar Diaries, and we've gone to places like Romania and even Hawaii. Yeah.
Hawaii.
And we felt so good that we were eating all the fresh food and no fast food. And we would come back feeling so good. We do try to eat clean, but we go into the grocery stores, and unless you go to some expensive place that's all, natural, do you have any
Yeah.
suggestions on just daily groceries and
Yeah, well,
shopping?
so it's an interesting thing. If you join my platform, which is hosted on the With Me website, it's free to join, and then I have some free resources there. One of them is called the World's Greatest Shopping List. So you have
Ah,
4 categories of essentials: essential amino acids, which is in my supplement; essential nutrients, which you should have a good methylated multivitamin because nobody's going to get to the 100% RDI; essential minerals, which once again you should supplement for that; and then essential fats, right? And really, that essential fat is that omega-3, because you want to build that cell wall. And so, like a really good supplement is cod liver oil, but you definitely want to be eating salmon for that, right? Salmon with the skin. It's mostly in the skin. But yeah, I mean, we were talking the other, I should mention that, bread is a huge problem. Bread is sprayed with folic acid. Almost all the manufactured foods are sprayed with folic acid, and it has the seed oil. So now you're building a cell wall that's going to have a high inflammation response from the seed oil. And then the folic acid, what's that supposed to do is create these enzymes that limit the amount of histamine your mast cells give off. So you've heard of mast cell activation syndrome, and well, that
yeah.
syndrome is more than likely due to somebody who's got an overabundance of folic acid in their body, too little folate. And even if you're having folate with your folic acid, the folic acid will occupy the folate receptor, so folate cannot attach to it. Right. And once I mentioned at high doses, folic acid acts as a neurotoxin, and it's super easy to get to the upper limit, and it takes a while to get out of your bloodstream. So if you have, and I'll just do the kid example because there's probably a lot of parents watching this and their kids might be suffering from ADD. So you send your kid to school with a Flintstone chewable. You're a third of the way to the upper limit before he's even gotten out of bed, right? You give him a bowl of cereal. He's about halfway there. He goes to school, has a slice of pizza, some French fries. He's probably near the upper limit, right? And then he comes home, has a bowl of spaghetti. He's over the upper limit, and he's sitting under those LED lights. And now he's creating histamine when he gets stressed, and it's causing a mast cell response, which puts you into fight or flight. Right. So now in all the manufactured foods, we've got the seed oil, which is messing up your cell, causing anxiety, and the folic acid in these foods, which is causing a limitation on how well you can manage your histamine, which is putting you in fight or flight. So now you have anxiety because there's no true danger around. And usually when you deal with anxiety, it then turns into depression. So yeah, there's a lot of, so in the World's Greatest Shopping List, I kind of detail some of those things, and yeah.
So if you have to eat bread, what kind of bread do you eat?
You 100%. So listen, I still will get bread that has folate. I'm not 100% able to eliminate it because sometimes I want a slice of pizza, and it's, but artisanal bread. See, here's the problem. If you go to Whole Foods and get their sourdough bread, it's not supposed to have it in there, but it's in there. So you can't go anywhere in Whole Foods and not get folic acid free bread, but I can go to Giant, which is another supermarket here. They've got a little bread section. It's about this big, and you got some breads in there. So you got to take it out of there. We have a local guy that makes bread here too, out of the back of the volunteer fire department, and it's amazing. So yeah, that's the best place to get bread. And I'm not saying you got to eliminate folic acid completely, but you want to limit it considerably.
So you mentioned sourdough. Is that like one of the better breads?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's fermented. The fermentation process helps with gut health and digesting food and things like that. Yeah. But once again, you got to make sure, look at the label, make sure the folic acid isn't in there.
Are they required to put that on there?
Yeah, it's an interesting
FDA?
thing. So I think back in like 1978 or something like that, or maybe later than that, I can't remember. The government that
Mhm.
loves us so much decided to spray the entire grain, fortify our grains, right? Which isn't a fortification, it's a poisoning of our grains with folic acid because they wanted to limit neural tube defects for women at pregnancy. So there's a ton of women, there's a ton of people. Only 0.09% of women annually get pregnant. Okay, so why are we, and only 4,000 of them were getting neural tube defect have births. They're not typically fatal or anything like that. I have one of them, or at least I was told I have one called spina bifida occulta. But I'm also 4 NFL contracts into it, so it didn't really affect me that much. So if a woman wants to not have a spinal or a what do you call it, neural tube defect, then just put it in her, her pregnancy vitamin. But the funny thing is they put the folic acid in the pregnancy vitamin, which I think is a major reason women are getting postpartum depression.
Oh,
Because you've got this
wow.
flood of stuff, and
Oh,
then once you stop taking it, now you've got none of that nutrition coming in. Baby's taking a lot of the nutrition from you, and I think your body should just, you need to really go natural after birth in terms of what you're eating.
My goodness, I
ah,
told you it's going to blow your mind. Wealth of
yes.
knowledge, man. Things are just like popping out all over the place.
Yes, so much goodness, though, so much goodness, because I doubt if there's one person out there that's, oh, I love having chronic pain or fibromyalgia.
You're watching the Rockstar Diaries TV show.
It's fascinating to me, and we've started going through your courses, for lack of a better word, but educating ourselves.
Yeah.
Where can they go?
Sure. So my website address is www.undu.me. So undo me. And on there, so I'm redesigning it to make it a little easier to navigate. So my web designer is doing that now. But there's a link that says Playbook. That will take you to that platform. You can sign up for free, kind of like Facebook, and then you have access to a couple of free resources. And then you can buy the playbook or lease it, basically, because I wanted to make it accessible to everyone. It's $196, and you get a free bottle of flexibility fuel and any update that I do to it. So I'm telling you, if I would have had this information 10 years ago, we would have never had this conversation because I wouldn't have had such a
Right.
problem with it. But if you can't
Right?
afford that, then it's $13.69 a month. If you're
Wow.
intentional about it, you'll get through it in a week. You can
Okay.
get through it 3 or 4 times in a month. And I don't care if somebody screenshots it or downloads all the information or whatever they want to do, that's fine. But at least get some knowledge and throw me $13 for 10 years of losing my life. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's
Yeah.
super comprehensive. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be things I add on to it in the future, but
Mhm.
there's nothing out there like this. But also on the website, you can buy the supplement, which is called
Okay.
Flexibility Fuel. Flex is a discount code. It keeps it under $50. It's essential amino acids. So if you go look and price out essential amino acids, they're more than $50. And then the undo blend that I call it, that targets each one of these things that I identified as the major pain makers that we're all suffering from. Like, because I'm sure there's other things out there that are this other person or might have something else, but
Mm.
these are the major ones.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Janine, you know what time it is now?
The hard
question.
question.
Oh
Dun-dun.
no.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, now this is going to be a wild question here. All
Okay.
right, now think about this. It's today, coming up, is going to be the NFL draft.
Oh, okay.
You are 22.
Yes.
today,
Yes.
and you have all the knowledge of all the good stuff that you have, and you've been using it for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
and you are fit,
Yeah.
you are going to be the #1 draft pick.
Yep.
Okay. So now you're the #1 draft pick. You're there in the room. And what team that you think you could help today?
Oh, help today.
The
Okay.
best. And what are you eating free for dinner? Because they're paying for your dinner.
Okay. Okay. Goodness, who needs a running back? Actually, if I could do it all over again, I'd be a safety, to be honest with you. And then I would choose the Philadelphia Eagles because I think I can do a little better job than Reed Blankenship, even though he's good and I love the guy, but I'm definitely faster than him. I honestly think that I could play again at 53 right now. Like, I don't think I can, not obviously not a whole season, but I guarantee I could be in the mix with these guys. Because, the guy who just won the indoor national championship this year, he's we're in the same age group. He's running the same times that we ran in college. You know what I mean? So it's not that it's not possible at this age to be that fast. It's getting rid of all the junk in the body that's causing the pain, that's limiting us. It's not real injuries. And so, yeah, it's if the Eagles do call me, I'm ready.
And what would you have for dinner?
Liver.
Okay.
Liver and salad. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. It's so obvious that you care about the world's health and you care about people. And here at Rockstar Diaries, we do focus on not only bringing hearts and sink around the world, but adding value because we truly do care. And you are making a rockstar ripple effect in the world by taking, like you said, 10 years, if not more, of hard learned information and going like this
Yeah.
to help people be healthier and without pain.
I truly hope that you make a gazillion dollars off of this stuff. You know why?
Make more to give more.
Because you'll be helping everybody.
Yeah.
I'm a huge investor in cryptocurrencies, which I think are going to skyrocket in the next year or so.
Let's talk offline.
And I have this idea like, wow, what if I make all this money in crypto? I can just do this for free for people. Like I can just have a retreat for people to come and, and I just help people. And so that would be the best
Yes,
sort
you
of
just
case
answered
scenario.
You just answered the question of the day, which is what would you do for free? We ask people that when we talk to people all the time, clients and people at church, some of them have lost their way. They don't even know what their purpose is. That's the first thing we say. What would you do for free? We're so thankful for people like you in the world that are doing the research and helping others because we do need to make at least the U.S. a healthier place.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to love each other so much more. You cannot be gracious when you're anxious, right? And that's why the Bible says you got to practice your gratitude when you have anxiety. They sit in the same place in the brain. So once again, there's science behind what the Bible's telling us. And so they can't occupy the same thought. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you here today.
Thank you.
It's just been so real. I have a lot of things I need to go do now.
We've started doing since the last time we talked to you, but yes, but it is a journey. We're not meant to be perfect, but progress, right? One step at a time. So thank you for all the knowledge and golden nuggets that you have brought. And I know our audience is just going to love it. They've probably been taking tons of notes.
Yeah.
So we'll have to transcribe this.
So if they go on to my With Me page, and once again, they don't have to pay and ask me questions there, I will answer every single question.
Wow.
So,
That's a big invite right there. So, all right. Well, thank you, Mr.
Thank you so much.
Esposito.
Esposito.
Wait, say it in the Italian.
Well, it's really Desposito. They dropped the D, so it's Desposito.
Esposito.
Okay.
Okay. I love it. Yes. All right.
Ciao.
Well, we're signing off. So thank you so much again. We'll talk to you soon.